Council will come to order. Sir, would you please step outside of the rail? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Cariello.
Present.
Council Falco.
Present.
Council Knight.
Present.
Vice President Longo Curran.
Present.
Council Marks.
Present.
Council Scarpelli.
Present.
President Del Russo.
Present, with 7 members present and none absent. Please rise and join us in saluting the flag. Aye. Mr. Messenger, would you please secure the area inside the precincts here, please? Chair recognizes Councilor Knight for suspension of the rules to take applicants for board members. On the motion of Councilor Knight for suspension of the rules, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes. Communications from the Mayor, 16-384. To the Honorable President and members of the Medford City Council, dear President and Councilors, I respectfully request and recommend that your honorable body confirm the appointment of Mr. Dean Bruno of 41 Saunders Street, Medford, as a member of the License Commission. This position became vacant with the resignation of Mr. Maurice Delvendo. Mr. Bruno's resume is attached, and he plans to be present tonight at your meeting, Councilor Knight.
Mr. President, thank you very much. It's with great pleasure that I'm here this evening to endorse Dean Bruno in his candidacy. I've known the Brunos for a number of years. They're a longtime Medford family, grew up in West Medford, and Dean now resides up in the Heights. He has over a 20-year career in law enforcement, and prior to that, he had worked in government for about 5 years, Mr. President. So I have absolutely no problem with this appointment, and I would move for approval.
On the motion approved by Councilor Knight, seconded by Councilor Falco. On the motion for approval, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. 16- congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're very glad to have you serving your community.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
On the 16-385, to the Honorable President and members of the Medford City Council, dear Mr. President and councilors, I respectfully request and recommend that your honorable body confirm the appointment of Mr. Nabin Sapkota of 53 Earl Ave, Medford, as Commissioner of Trust Funds. This position became vacant with the passing of Juan Ramirez. Is Mr. Sapkota here, please? You are welcome. Chair recognizes Councilor Knight.
Mr. President, although I don't know the gentleman personally, I have reviewed his resume, and it's rather impressive, and I'd ask that the committee move for approval.
On the motion for approval, Councilor Knight. Second? Second, Mr. President. By Councilor Cariello. On that motion, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations and welcome. We're glad to have you. Thank you. On the motion of Councilor Knight to take from unfinished business, number 15-734, loan order, addition to the DPW facility project, fund of $300,000. This motion began its journey with us on November 10th in 2015. After being tabled and referred to committee a number of times, it finally passed its first reading this past March, second reading on March 31st, and now is eligible for a third and final reading on today, April 12th. So the chair recognizes Councilor Knight.
Mr. President, yes, thank you very much. As noted, this matter has been before the council a couple of occasions prior. It's relative to some surveying problems that were had with the Winthrop Street drainage project. It's my understanding that there is litigation subrogation that's in place relative. Am I looking at the right one? No, I'm not looking at the right one. 15734.
This is the DPW facility. Yeah?
This is the DPW facility.
We just had to tidy up. There was an underestimate on some.
It was underestimated. It was underestimated the mitigation for the pollution underground, Mr. President.
Yes, yes.
And we've passed a couple of readings on this, and I would move for approval on the third reading. It has to get paid one way or the other, Mr. President. So,
very good. So on the motion for approval by Councilor Knight, seconded by Councilor Falco. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll. Councilor Marks.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the issue that I've had concern with for a number of months now regarding the original estimate that the city hired an outside consultant to come in and give us an estimate on the contaminants at the DPW yard. And the estimate was off by, I believe it was $500,000. The estimate was off by $500,000, Mr. President.
Yes.
And I know we had many discussions with Louise.
We have before us Ms. Louise Miller, the
Right.
Director of Budget and Finance, who can answer any of our questions, as she's answered many of them earlier.
Oh, she's answered them all. And
Yes.
I am in opposition of this paper, and I wanted to explain why for the viewing audience, Mr. President, that I
And
feel...
thanks to Comcastic, tonight it will be viewable. We are
Great.
being broadcast.
That's
finally.
great. And I wanted to explain my position, why I'm opposed to this, for the fact that the city went out and hired a consultant to come in and provide the city with facts and figures on what it would cost to remove the contaminants at the DPW yard. And to be off by $500,000 on a project that was originally estimated at, what was the amount?
It was just about $500,000.
It was about $500,000. So they were off by $500,000. So the project ended up costing us $1 million, Mr. President. And I'm not sure, would we pay this outside consultant?
It was around $150,000. I don't have the exact.
So we paid
figure.
$150,000 to an outside consultant to ask or to let us know what it was going to cost to remove the contaminants. They said $500,000. We started the project. It was closer to $1 million. So we lost $500,000 on that, and we paid $150,000 for a consultant that gave us bogus information. So it's actually $650,000 in net, which I have a real problem with that. And I realize that the remedial treatment of what was under there may have differed based on what they found and so forth, but I have a tough time thinking. It's almost like being a meteorologist. You could be right 50% of the time, and you're doing a good job. And I don't understand why we'd pay a consultant to come in over $100,000 and be off by 100%. It just doesn't sound right to me, Mr. President, and for those particular reasons, I cannot support this particular funding for the cleanup, Mr. President.
Thank you, Council Marks, for your frankness. So we have a motion for approval by Council Knight, as seconded by Councilor Caviello. So on that motion, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Caviello.
Yes.
Council Falco.
Yes.
Council Knight. Yes. Vice President Longo-Kern.
Yes.
Council Marks.
No.
Council Scarpelli. Yes. President Del Russo.
Yes, with 6 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative, the motion passes. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Loan
President.
order passes.
Thank you, councilors.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. On the Council of Knight to take up, on the motion of Council of Knight to take up item number 16-309, again, an item eligible for third reading, amended ordinance on outdoor dining. After much consideration, we took this up tonight. It is eligible for its third and final reading tonight, April 12th. So on the motion for approval by Councilor Knight. Councilor Knight.
Yes, Mr. President, it's my understanding that this is just a simple clarification of the existing outdoor dining license ordinance that's in place. There was some misinterpretation of the legislative intent that's been addressed through the language in this newly crafted zoning ordinance, and I move for approval.
On the motion for approval, Councilor Marks.
I just wanted to thank the subcommittee that was sent to Councilor Knight, and under his leadership on that subcommittee, they vetted this even further, the paper that we received from the administration, and I wanted to thank that subcommittee for their due diligence on this.
Thank you, Councilor Marks. So on the motion for approval by Councilor Knight, as seconded by Councilor Marks, Mr. Clerk, if you would please call the roll for the third reading.
Council Caviello.
Yes.
Council Falco. Yes. Council Knight.
Yes.
Vice President Longo-Kern. Yes. Council Marks.
Yes.
Council Scarpelli. Yes. President Del Russo.
Yes, with the vote of 7 in the affirmative, none in the negative, the motion passes. And now on the motion of Councilor Knight to, while we're into suspension, Councilor Knight.
Paper 15788, please.
15788.
I'd like to remove this paper from the table and withdraw it, Mr. President. This was the paper that I had filed. The issue is moot. It's been addressed.
On the motion for removing this from the table and returning, and putting it back,
Just withdrawn, it's done.
Withdraw the paper on that motion. All those in favor? All those
Motion to revert
opposed?
back to regular order of business, Mr. President.
While we're under suspension.
While we're under suspension, Councilor Marks.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President. I received a number of emails regarding some of the work that are being done at local parks. And I made a phone call and talked to Mike Nestor, the park foreman, and he provided me with a list of parks that are in the process of being rehabbed. And I thought it was quite interesting, and I'm not sure maybe other members of the council are aware, but there was some linkage money approved last year for the rehab of several parks. Morrison Park is undergoing right now new tennis courts, new basketball courts, and fencing. Harris Park, if you go by Harris Park, the old tennis court and the basketball court is totally leveled now. It's just dirt, and they're getting a new basketball court and a new tennis court, as well as fencing around that area. Duggar Park is receiving 2 new steel basketball backboards in their courts, which appear to be in good shape. And Victory Park had some work done to clean some of the brush and debris along the fencing of Victory Park. So that work, from what I understand, is underway, and within the next month or 2 will be completed. So hopefully for this summer, we'll have, at least for these parks, updated tennis courts and basketball courts. And the tennis courts, we're having a revitalization in Medford. Tennis is really on the rise in this community, and the demand for tennis courts is really sought after. And the addition of these...
Sport of royalty, Councilor.
Well, maybe that's why there's such a demand in this community. But the tennis courts that were, I know at Harris Park, were in deplorable shape. Actually, there were no nets, so I guess you could say they were worse than deplorable. But it's going to add to this community having a lot of other options to play tennis in this community. So I want to thank the administration, and I know the council president also has a vote on linkage. Thank the council president, because this is well needed.
Thank you for bringing that up, Councilor Marks. So on the motion of Councilor Knight to return to the regular order of business, all those in favor?
Mr. President, just before we return,
Yes.
if you don't mind,
I don't mind at all, Councilor.
I just want to congratulate, because it doesn't happen often, Charlotte and Frank Scuderi. They are celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary. And you would only think she's 55, Charlotte, but she actually is celebrating her 50th wedding anniversary.
Child bride.
And Charlotte, and I want to congratulate her. In this day and age, when you hear 50th, you know, people think a milestone is 5 years nowadays. And, you know, 50th is quite a... It's quite an accomplishment, Mr. President. Both Charlotte and Frank are tremendous people, very active in this community, and I want to say happy 50th to both of them. And if we can get them a citation, May 1st is the happy day, Mr. Clerk?
Yes. So on the motion of Councilor Marks, wishing congratulations to Frank and Charlotte Scuderi on the wonderful occasion of their 50th wedding anniversary. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries. And now to return to the regular order of business offered by Councilor Knight. All those in favor? All those opposed? The motion carries. 16-380 offered by Councilor Caraviello. Be it resolved that the Medford City Council requests the Department of Public Works or Park Department to try to clean and polish several war memorial monuments and plaques around the city. With Patriots Day and Memorial Day approaching, many visitors from around the area come and visit the monuments. Councilor Caraviello.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, you know, being on the Veterans Committee, I get a lot of calls in regards to some of our memorials, and in fact, the one that got me started on this was the people from Pennsylvania who will be coming up this year. Her grandfather was a seventh generation on the plaque at the library, and it's, you know, over the years it's oxidized and it's tarnished, and the rock could be cleaned. And at one time there used to be a couple of trees there. I had somebody go down that knows about plaques and things like that, and they said that the plaques are they're the old plaques, and they need to be actually taken off and refinished because they can't be cleaned. But he says if you power wash it, you might get a little bit cleaner. If we could maybe have the parks departments go around them and do, some of I know we have multiple memorials around the city, different parks and plaques, and maybe the mayor may have some funding to get these plaques refinished over the next couple of years to bring them up to life again. So it's something that if the mayor could maybe have the parks department or the public works, maybe they can power wash the area and maybe get some of the oxidation off to make them look nice for the holidays coming up.
On that motion, when I was a novice monk up at St. Anselm's College, there were 2 bronze statues on campus, and we used to have to go out twice a year and polish them with bowling alley wax, and that's what protected the bronze.
Mr. President, we thought, I was talking with Mr. Lindsay in the Veterans Office, and we thought it might have been a project that the vocational school kids might have been able to do, but I'm informed that those plaques won't come clean even with an acid or anything like that.
Very good. Councilor Knight.
Mr. President, first of all, I'd like to thank Councilor Caviello for bringing this resolution forward. He's done a great job on behalf of the veterans here in the community since his election, and he served diligently as the chairman of the Veterans Services Subcommittee. With that being said, Mr. President, I'd like to amend the paper and ask that the Director of Veterans Service provide us with a list of all veteran, war, and military monuments, memorials, and plaques in the city. And I'd also like to ask the Director of Veterans Services if he can establish a maintenance schedule for said war, memorial, monuments, and plaques that are across the city, Mr. President. I think that this is something that should fall within the purview of our Director of Veterans Services. I think that he should be the one that's really taking the lead on this, and that he's the one that's helping coordinate this. So with that being said, I move for approval as amended.
On the motion of Councilor Caviello, is seconded and amended by Councilor Knight.
Mr. President.
Councilor Caviello.
Mr. President, if I could also amend my motion, I forgot to, but the war memorial that is at Winthrop Street, it's been brought to my attention, there's a couple of lights out there. If someone could take care of the couple of lights that are out there, it would be appreciated.
So further amended by Councilor Caviello that the electrical department examine and replace any defective and or out lights. So on that motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries. 16-381 offered by Councilor Caviello. Be it resolved that the Medford City Council commend and congratulate Century Bank's Marshall Sloan on the celebration of his 90th birthday. Happy birthday, Marshall. Councilor Caviello.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had the honor of being Mr. Sloan's presence this weekend, and his son let me know that it was his birthday. And Mr. Sloan has been a great member of this community for many years. The Sloan family is very generous with many organizations throughout the city, along with the use of their building for any organization. And I would just like to salute the man on his celebration of his 90th birthday.
So, on the motion for approval by Councilor Caviello, all those in favor? Councilor Knight.
I was wondering if I could ask Councilor Caviello a question.
Yes.
Is, at 90 years of age, is Mr. Sloan still working?
He is still working every day. 90.
90 years old.
Yeah, 90. He works every single day, and he approves every single loan that goes through that bank.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Wow. Get on his good side. On the motion for approval,
Like-
all those in favor?
Like it's his own money.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Happy birthday, Marshall. Citizen of the Year, 3 or 4 years ago.
Yes.
Yes. 16-382, offered by Vice President Longo Kern. Be it resolved that the 5th and 6th grade boys basketball team from St. Raphael's be congratulated on becoming the Northeast Regional CYO champions, Catholic Youth Organization. Their hard work and dedication paid off and led them to the title and to an undefeated season. Be it further resolved that they join us to accept accommodations at a future City Council meeting. Madam Vice President.
Thank you, President Del Russo. This was brought to my attention that the 5th and 6th grade boys team had won the Northeast Regional CYO Championship down in Connecticut. So they had to they were a travel team, obviously pretty far, and they've obviously had a great season, worked very hard, from what I understand, extra practices every week to accomplish such a wonderful goal. So I will get the city clerk a list of names so that we can ask them to a future meeting, hopefully within the next several weeks, to give them accommodations for their accomplishments.
Awesome.
Great.
On that motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. On the motion of Councilor Knight to suspend the rules, all those in favor? All those opposed?
I'd like to take the papers in the hands of the clerk.
On the motion to take the papers in the hand of the clerk, all those in favor? All those opposed? And there are many. And we will start off randomly, more to come. Wonderful. Number 1, from our Vice President, Brianna Longo-Kern. Be it resolved that the Medford City Council hold a committee of the whole meeting or a discussion on the council floor, or maybe a visit to a subcommittee, with regards to the Meadow Glen Mall redevelopment. Be it further resolved, a representative from the city administration and the developer be invited to be present. Madam Vice President.
Thank you, President Dela Russo. I think it's important that the City Council gets involved to a point, even if it's just an update meeting, a meeting with regards to getting updates, having questions answered, having concerned citizens speak out. This is a very large development that's going to take, approximately a year and a half. We have homeowners, obviously, in the condos that abut the mall that have obviously questions and concerns, and we've done this in the past with regards to developments, asked them to come before the city council meeting to meet, whether it be half hour to an hour, to just have a discussion and answer any questions that we may have. And I would like somebody obviously from the development be present and somebody from the city administration to help answer some questions, also be a contact person, a point person within the city hall, so that our recommendations obviously are followed through, such as, what is going to be there for green space, how long is the project going to take, when is it going to be finished, construction-wise, is it going to be disruptive to the residents that live very, very close by, a number of questions that probably we should start being on top of now and getting involved in. I'm sure the administration is in contact with the developer, but as far as I'm concerned, I don't know any, I wouldn't know who to contact from the development team. And it would be good to get a point person from both the city side and the development side so that we can answer questions if residents have them or concerns as they come. I know all of us have got an email recently, and that's one of the reasons why I put this on, but I also think it's just a massive development in an area where we do have a lot of residents that is a concern to me, and I just want to make sure everything goes smoothly and we get the answers that we want from the questions that we have.
Thank you. On the motion for approval by Vice President Longo-Kern, all those in favor?
Roll call, please.
A roll call vote has been requested. Mr. Clerk, if you would, please call the roll.
Council Caviello.
Yes.
Council Falco. Yes. Council Knight. Vice President Longo-Kern.
Yes.
Council March. Yes. Council Scarpelli.
Yes.
President Dela Russo.
Yes, with 4 to 7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The motion passes unanimously. Offered by Vice President Longo-Kern, be it resolved that pothole type street depression at the Brooks School drop-off location be addressed in the interest of public safety. Madam Vice President.
Thank you, President Dela Russo. If we could ask our DPW department, I know they're filling a ton of potholes. I've seen it all around the city, and I thank them for that. But from what I understand, somebody recently did get injured at this. It's not necessarily a pothole, but it's almost like a depression, and right from the street to the sidewalk, there's a large depression and needs to be filled in the interest of public safety so nobody else gets injured at that location.
Very good. On the motion for approval by, Council Marks.
If Council Longo doesn't mind, I'd like to amend it to add on Salem Street.
Salem Street.
There's a portion of Salem Street where you can see the old railroad car tracks underneath the road from 100 years ago.
Roughly where?
It's in front of Ronnie's place. Is that still on the corner over there?
All right.
Yeah, right on Salem Street.
Spring and Salem is
Spring and
Ronnie's. It moved a little bit.
Oh,
a
no,
couple
no,
years ago.
where they used to be. Park, yeah, the Park in Salem.
Okay,
right in that area. You can see the tire tracks. And on Riverside Ave, there are a number of manhole covers that have some real giant holes right next to the manhole covers. They look like they appear to be sinking. But that's at roughly Riverside and Locust and Riverside and Spring Street.
So further down from where that whole stretch was repaved.
Right, and that stretch there.
Okay. So on the motion for approval by Councilor Vice President Longo-Kern, as amended by Councilor Marks, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Offered by Councilor, no, I didn't do that one yet. Next, the one I had in my hand to read. Offered by Vice President Longo-Kern, be it resolved that any notices such as street sweeping be posted on the city website as well as through other methods of communication and notification. Madam Vice President.
Thank you, President Dela Russo. I received a call from somebody who was upset. It sounds like they had made a call and asked which streets were getting swept when, and they were told they can find that information only, on the website, and it didn't seem like it was posted anywhere else. And this person was upset, didn't have a computer, and I understand, I agree with the complaint. So I wanted to just make sure that when we do have any notices that need to go out to the public, I think it's wonderful that we are utilizing our website, and I think the transparency is so much better than it ever has been. But I would just also request that we be posting things in the paper, making actual posts, whether it be at City Hall, on documents, on billboards, at the library, and any other means of communication, and that if there is a certain post that needs to be made on the website, that certain departments know that if somebody calls and asks questions, that they can be answered that way too, verbally, because some people don't have a computer, some people don't have phones. So just want to make sure information is getting out by many means of communication rather than just directing everybody to the website, because some people actually do go to the library to do all their computer work and can't get there all the time. So I think that's very important just to bring up, because the resident that did call me was very, very upset, and I just want to make sure we're accommodating to, everybody.
On that motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Offered by Councilors Caraviello, Vice President Longo-Kern, and Councilor Scarpelli. Be it resolved that the Medford City Council request a report from the mayor regarding the Veterans Advisory Committee. Councilor Caraviello.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I think that committee is underway because of your good efforts.
Yes, Mr. President, and I know the mayor has adopted it, and I know many people have sent in applications, and I just wanted to know if we could have a report on where it is in the mayor's calendar of selecting members.
Very good. So on that motion, Madam Vice President.
Thank you, President Dela Russo. I too thank Councilor Caraviello for bringing this resolution forward a few months ago, and I thank the mayor's office for moving forward with it. I do know there were a number of people that have contacted me and had submitted applications, so if we could maybe find out how many people applied, how many people are intended to be on the board. I'm not sure if we got clarification of that 100%. And I too would like to find out when that's going to come to fruition.
So on that motion, all those in favor?
As amended.
As amended by Councilor Vice President Longo-Kern. On that motion, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Be it resolved by Councilor Knight. Be it resolved that the plated catch basin at Winthrop and Rural Ave be adjusted to ensure public safety. Councilor Knight.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Councilor Caraviello actually brought this very issue up several weeks ago, asking what was going on with that steel plate, and the response that we received back from the DPW was that it's a catch basin that has been plated because it has collapsed and is scheduled to be repaired. Well, today, as I was driving home from the office, I did notice that the steel plate is about 6 to 8 inches off the ground. Puddles pooling, Mr. President, due to the weather conditions, and it just needs a little bit of an adjustment so that it makes the situation a little bit safer there. I think part of the problem is the fact that it's very close to a bus stop, and when the bus pulls over, it stops right next to the plate and then drives over the plate and adjusts it due to the weight of the vehicle. So with that being said, I'd ask that this matter be approved by the council and forwarded to the DPW.
On the motion approved by Councilor Knight, all those in favor? All those opposed? Carries. Offered by Councilor Marks. Be it resolved that speeding cars on Forest Street be discussed. Councilor Marks. speeding car.
Thank you, Mr. President. I received an email from a resident on Roosevelt Road, which we all know is the road when you're coming right off of Roosevelt Circle, the first road on the right-hand side. And residents are very concerned that cars coming off of Roosevelt Circle are coming down Forest Street, and they're really coming at a great clip. And residents are concerned that have children in the area and want some additional signage along that portion of Forest Street, and possibly to look at maybe a raised crosswalk in the area to slow down some of the traffic coming off that particular area. So I would want to offer that as a resolution tonight, asking that the Traffic Commission look into increased speeding signage at Roosevelt Road and Forest Street, and also Roosevelt Circle, and that the possibility of a raised crosswalk or any other traffic calming approaches in that particular area, which is posing a real safety concern for area residents, be discussed by the Traffic Commission.
Very good, and thank you for your efforts in public safety on that matter. Chair recognizes Council Caviello.
Thank you, Mr. President. If Council Marks wouldn't object, if we could add Governor's Avenue onto that list also. I've received numerous calls from many residents on Governor's Avenue. Same problem, cars speeding on both sides of the road.
As amended by Councilor Caviello, Chair recognizes Councilor Knight.
Mr. President, I'd like to thank Councilor Knox for bringing this resolution forward. On 2 occasions, this council has approved resolutions to put a crosswalk at Forest Street between King Ave and Cedar Road to allow safe crossing of Forest Street to the newly renovated McNally Playground. Yes. And I'd ask that we amend the paper to receive an update on the status thereof, Mr. President.
On the motion to, on the amendment of Councilor Knight, Madam Vice President.
Thank you, President Del Russo. If I could also amend this paper with regards to the traffic calming approaches, we always ask that the speedometer be placed at different locations, and I think the last update we got, I don't know if I personally got it or if the entire council got it, was that the speedometer machine was out of service. So if we could just get an update on that and a cost estimate to fix that machine so that we can maybe evaluate it at budget time, because I think that's really important. I know enforcement is, you know, it's hard to enforce every road. I've complained about Harvard, Forest. I mean, we each are complaining about different streets at different times. So that's a huge speed calming approach that I think is necessary. And we only had one, and from what I understand, it's broken.
And
so
where it's been used, it's been very effective.
It is very effective, yes.
Thank you. So on that main motion as amended, all those in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Offered by Councilor Marks. Be it resolved that the Right Honorable Representative Paul J. Donato provide the City Council with an update on the current status of the Charter Review Home Rule Petition approved by the Mayor and the City Council. Councilor Marks.
Thank you, Mr. President. This was approved several weeks back by this body and signed by the Mayor. It's my understanding that it's currently before the state legislature, and whereas there is some time sensitivity on having this go through the state legislature, I would ask that Representative Donato provide this council with an update on the current status and what else maybe we as a community can do to shepherd this along through the House and the Senate.
Very good. So on that motion.
Mr. President, it has to be recorded in opposition. It has to be recorded in opposition on this matter, Mr. President. I feel as though the process could have been handled a little differently, and I'm not supportive of it.
Very good.
Can you just read the resolve one more time, please, before the vote is taken?
It just got folded up and put away. Offered by Councilor Marks. Be it resolved that Representative Donato provide the City Council with an update on the current status of the Charter Review Home Rule Petition approved by the Mayor and the City Council. On that motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Mr. Clerk, please mark as requested. Councilor Knight as in opposition. Motion carries. I have one more. Be it resolved, offered by Councilor Knight, be it resolved that the Medford City Council hold a moment of silence in memory of late State Senator Charlie Shannon. And be it further resolved, whereas April 10th, 2016 marked the 11th annual anniversary of his passing. This evening's meeting be dedicated in his honor. Councilor Knight.
Mr. President, thank you very much. I had the distinct honor and pleasure of working for Senator Shannon, as did Councilor Marks, as well as Councilor Caraviello's son, Richard. And I just think that it would be fitting and quite a tribute to the service and dedication that this gentleman gave the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the citizens of this district over his 20-plus years as a state senator and his 20 years before that as a law enforcement officer. Senator Shannon died of cancer back in 2005. He gave me a shot right out of college as an intern, and I ended up becoming a member of his staff and worked with him from 1999 until his untimely passing. He's sadly missed. He's made a great deal of change and effectuated the number of people's lives in a positive way in this community, Mr. President. I think it's only fitting that we remember and reflect upon the contributions that he's made to the citizens of Medford.
On that motion, if you would all rise and join us in a moment of silence. Before we return to the regular order of business, two items. First of all, next week, on Monday, April 18th, is Memorial Day, and Patriots Day. And so the annual celebrations will take place starting this year at 10 o'clock at the Old Burial Ground on Salem Street. At 10:45, we'll gather in front of the Gaffey Funeral Home, the Isaac Hall House, at the corner of High and Bradley, and wait to welcome Paul Revere. All are welcome. Plenty of activities, plenty of music, song, activities for the kids, and so we hope to have everybody there. Secondly, Barbara Kerr has been appointed as librarian for the city of Medford. Congratulations to Barbara, and thanks to her and all the many dedications that she's given to the improvement of the Medford Public Library. Before we go back to the regular order of business, did Councilor Caraviello want to speak? Did Madam Vice President want to speak?
Just want to also wish good luck to all the Medford residents running the Boston Marathon. I know that you'll either be watching the Boston Marathon or you'll be in Medford Square on Monday. But
are you running?
I'm not running, but a good friend of mine, Meg Richard, is running, and I know there's, I think, 86 Medford residents running. I've been there, done that, so just want to wish everybody good luck. It's going to be a great day.
Councilor Marks is running again this year?
Yes.
Congratulations, too.
Excellent. Twice. I drove.
You going back out to Halls? Yeah. All righty.
Dean is not talking, by the way.
On the motion of Councilor Knight to return to the regular order of business, all those in favor? All those opposed, motion carries. Petitions, presentations, and similar matters. 16-383, petition by Jean M. Martin of 10 Cumming Street, Medford, Massachusetts, to address the council on Chevalier Theater, the library, community access, and the Community Preservation Fund. We welcome to the podium Citizen Martin to state her name and address for the record.
Thank you. Jean Martin, 10 Cumming Street. This city needs to formulate a cohesive plan for the resources we already own. We have a group of committed people devoted to the arts, but lack a concept of how the current institutions can be linked together. We have everything backwards. The Chevalier is built for the arts. While it started out as a school theater, it is now an adult theater. Yet we have a Boys and Girls Club in the adult theater basement and adults meeting in schools, buildings designed for kids. To state the obvious, schools are built for kids, but not for adult meeting spaces to be purchased to pay for school programs. Taxes are paid to pay for school programs. For money, we have turned our public theater into a church and our schools into community centers for adults. Maybe if we said it out loud, it will sink in. When does it stop? For example, we make $500 off of one rental for the theater. 2 rentals at $500 even starts to sound better. The same could be said for the schools. When does it stop? Then the infighting of who gets what time and for what price. These buildings are not businesses, and they were not designed to be businesses. We have a breach of the Constitution with the Chevalier by renting it to religious groups, and we have a breach of security by renting a child-rich environment to strange adults in the schools. The library needs to become fresh with a new concept for the millennial generation and the generation that is following. The Chevalier is a gift from heaven that most communities would die for, yet we have to rent it to religious groups to keep the doors open. Well, if those two buildings aren't enough, we have money available through the Community Access Station. It's the goose that lays the golden eggs. The money is not produced through the tax base, but our cable bills, but gives generously towards both the general fund and the arts community. The city apparently still has a bad taste in its mouth from the last Community Access Station, but this city's arts community is going to have to step up and do something with it. Don't ask for money when money is sitting in unused accounts. Just because it is hard to work out the details. I have news for you. Life is hard. This city is missing out on recording its history, sports, arts, news, and culture. You, the arts community, with your infighting, are not stepping up to the plate you have been assigned to by virtue of your talents and status in the city. It may not be popular, but it needs to be said. Many of you enjoy the Boys and Girls Club in the basement of the Chevalier. Why not put the Boys and Girls Club in a school, a designated kids space, and release that basement for a community space or the Community Access Station? And now, you have the Community Preservation Fund, which many of you thought was a good idea. I now count that on your ledger for the arts. You have 3 existing entities to express yourselves through. Come together and maximize what we already have. Don't ask for yet another building when we are neglecting the ones we have now. The West Medford Community Center and the South Medford Fire Station have community space available for meetings. Point of fact, Spring Step, a nonprofit in this city designed for the arts, went out of business. It folded. Why should we create yet another building for the arts when we have 2 already, and 3 with a TV station in the square? Plus, the pot of money you just created through the CPA. Use what we have, build on them, and be grateful you have what you do. I am. And for my blue-collar and pink-collar fellow citizens, you're not off the hook either. You all were up here demanding bonding for new sports arenas and got every one of them. You got the swimming pool, Hormel, and the Field of Dreams by borrowing into your kids' future. While it is easy to pick on the new primarily white-collar class moving in, I don't see you all asking for bonding for police cruisers, asphalt for the roads, or demanding the water sewer money be spent on water pipe replacement right under our feet. The blue and pink collar people in this city have been looking out for what they value too, which are sports and recreational facilities. While everyone can get behind kids, these facilities are also luxuries, though you may not see it that way. We need to focus on building maintenance in this city. I know, it's a deep sleeper, but it has to get done. This city is not making the mayor's job any easier. She knows full well what needs to be done in Medford and where the financial resources need to go. But she hears from you with your hands out. We want more, please. We all need to accept that government money is not a pot of endless cash. You want it all, but I have news for everyone. You can't have it all. Start applying pressure on the mayor to take care of the buildings we currently own, including the schools, which I know you all care about, blue collar, no collar, and white collar alike. To the white collar newcomer, please realize you have more disposable income than others in this city, and those without your excess dollars become resentful of you because you are increasing their standard of living, actually pushing them out of this city. They resent you because you have the luxury of being able to think beyond the necessities of life. And for you blue-collar guys, I don't see you protesting in the streets for systematic reform of the way business is done here. It is time you two step up. Stand out in Medford Square with a sign for scheduled systematic street sweeping. You can't, can you? Why? Because how can the DPW do its job if the streets are littered with cars? The working class has priorities too, that do not always coincide with the city's ability to take care of itself. It is easy for everyone to get behind kids, and parks are important, but they are not the only need in the city. Start thinking about what doesn't automatically pop into your head. Sports facilities are not mandated by government, and you too should appreciate what we have. I know many of you want to tell me to go pound sand right now, but someone has to speak truth to power. The city is slowly receding in spite of the spike in property values. The city's diagnosis is in, but the remedy is painful to all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mon. On the motion of Council Knight to receive and place on file, Councilor Marks.
Just if I could, I want to thank Jean for her comments, and many of them hit home because they're true. The one thing I do want to mention, I think it was 2 weeks ago, Councilor Lungo-Kern offered a resolution to find out from the administration how people can apply for the exemption for the Community Preservation Act, and we didn't receive a response, as I know from that. And last week I offered something very similar, that the administration, because a letter went out in the tax bill alerting people of the Community Preservation Act, but there was never any discussion about how to apply for an exemption. And to date, we have not received on two separate, dating now 14 days, two separate resolves dealing with the exemption for residents. And it's one thing, Mr. President, that this was voted on, and you know, the people are going to have to pay the additional 1.5% surcharge, but it's another thing not to alert people that may be eligible for an exemption, that could sorely use it, that this is available and how to apply for it.
An abatement.
So again, I would ask, Mr. President, that we receive a correspondence from the mayor, and that the citizenry be notified on how to apply for an exemption for the Community Preservation Act, and what are the eligibility requirements based on state law.
So on the motion of Councilor Knight to receive the paper from the petitioner and place it on file, all those in favor? All those opposed? On the motion of Councilor Marks under suspension for an update, and with those fine points, Mr. Clerk, to hear report back from the
on those two resolutions.
On those two resolutions as well. Councilor Vice President Lungo-Kern.
Thank you, President Del Russo. I want to second that, because when I brought it up 2 weeks ago, from what I understood, there was only about one more week to apply for an exemption. So if that was the case, then it's almost too late to apply for exemption. So I think one of my points, and I think the council agreed with the resolution, is that we extend that time for an exemption, because I wholeheartedly agree that there's an exemption portion in this law for a reason. There are people out there that need an exemption financially, obviously, for financial reasons, so they should be aware of it. They should, like I said earlier in tonight's meeting, we should be not only posting information on the exemption online, we should be posting at the library and in the paper, so that people who need an exemption can apply for it. And I really pray that the administration extends that time frame if for some reason it has passed, to give the residents that have no idea about the exemption or how to apply for it the time they need to research it and figure out if they can apply for it and get the exemption. I found out from a resident, I had no idea with regards to any timelines for exemptions, and that they would be coming up so soon. So if us councilors didn't know, obviously the general public does not know. And if you have a senior citizen or somebody who can apply for this exemption that had no idea, I think that's highly unfair. And I just truly believe and really hope that the administration will do the right thing and extend that time frame and give it at least another month with advertisement and with notification to our residents. We use the 911 system. I think there's now a Facebook page, or Where's Barry Clementi? You know, people are used to hearing from them, so I think a reverse call needs to go out with regards to when this exemption date is coming and what they need to do to apply for it, to get more information on it. So I really hope that happens.
On the motion of Councilor Marks, seconded by Vice President Longo Kern. Councilor Knight.
Yes, Mr. President, thank you very much. It's my understanding of the language that was adopted here in the city of Medford that there are a number of exemptions, but there's one big exemption, and that's the automatic exemption for the $100,000 off your assessed value of your property. And that, I believe, is an exemption that you don't need to apply for. That's an automatic exemption. So if your home is valued at $300,000, you have an automatic exemption on the first $100,000, and then the assessment will be leveled on to the $200,000 figure. So I wanted to be clear that there's no application process for the initial $100,000 exemption. That's an automatic exemption that's applicable to everybody.
Thank you. So on the motion for approval by Councilor Marks, as seconded by Vice President Longo Kern, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. On the motion of Councilor Falco for adjournment? Oh, the records. I'm sorry, Mr. Councilor. Yes. Councilor Marks.
I just wanted to present some good news. Last night, the Medford Dog Park Committee met. They've had a number of meetings, and the grant application was submitted for a future dog park just recently to the Stanton Foundation for a request of $250,000 to get this dog park underway. And I just want to recognize there have been 5 members of this dog park committee who have set up a website, who have done yeoman's work keeping this issue up on behalf of the thousands of dog owners in this community that have really no place to walk their dog or exercise their dog or have their dog mingle with other dogs, which is very important. And I want to thank Patty Flynn, Jim Silva, Gary DiStefano, Diane Savoni, and Britt Fitch for their work and their countless hours in moving this forward steadily. And I also want to thank Mayor McGlynn and also Mayor Burke, who now is on board with moving this park forward. And I'm hoping that this grant goes through, Mr. President, and it's going to be a real plus for Medford residents to finally have a place they can exercise and walk their dog.
Thank you, Councilor, and thank you for your leadership on that committee. The records of the previous meeting were passed to Councilor Falco. Mr. Councilor, how do you find those records? I see that, Councilor. Councilor Falco, how do you find those records?
Thank you, Mr. President. I reviewed the records, found them to be in order, and move approval.
On the motion for approval of the records of the meeting of April 5th by Councilor Falco, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries. The chair recognizes the citizen at the podium. Please state your name and address for the record.
Andrew Castanetti, Cushion Street, Medford, Massachusetts. Thank you, Councilor Del Russo, all the councilors, and for your public service. And the mayor hopefully will make some betterments to our city, at least keep the status quo from deteriorating any further. I wish you all success. And knowing at times that you offer condolences for deceased citizens, if I may, I'd like to mention the passing of Barbara Anderson. And it was in the Boston Globe, front page of the Sunday Globe. I have it here. I'll just read the headline because it's a long story. Barbara Anderson, the force of nature who took down Massachusetts, dies. Shook up the state, reveling in her controversial role. I just wanted to say, she brought us Prop 2.5, as most of you know, for all Massachusetts homeowners. And she is our only hero to try to limit real estate tax increases. It's not a perfect Prop 2.5. If I can get off my notation area, Prop 2.5 implies that although the levy can only go up 2.5%, and what about the new growth? I'm not that smart. However, my real estate tax in the past 5 years have gone up from 4 to 6 to 8% in real tax dollars on the tax bill. So Prop 2.5, in my limited education, is a fallacy. Hopefully we can improve upon her legacy. And if I'm allowed, I'll take my own moment of silence, and I wish her the best because she's a anti-tax hero. Thank you for listening. Good luck.
Councilor Knight. All those in favor? All those opposed? Thank you.